Chapter 1 of the story introduces us to a high school setting where students are engrossed in watching highlights from an altered fight on a video-sharing platform called Powtube. The protagonist, Gary, is preoccupied with his phone and receives a mysterious message instructing him to be somewhere at 6 in the evening. The two main characters, Tom and Gary, are described as friends with contrasting personalities. Gary is described as impulsive, hairless, and eccentric, while Tom is reserved, prefers low-maintenance choices, and avoids social interaction. Despite their differences, they have a strong friendship. The story transitions to the altered fight, where two fighters, Kirk Summerfield and Sam Dillpickle, bear uncanny resemblances to Tom and Gary. Kirk, an altered with cheetah-like attributes, faces off against Sam, whose transformation resembles a frog. The altered fights involve individuals who have been genetically modified with DNA from ancient, powerful creatures. These altered humans have enhanced abilities, making them stronger, faster, and less susceptible to diseases. The fight is intense, with Sam using his frog-like tongue to attack Kirk, who retaliates by cutting off Sam's tongue. Kirk eventually emerges victorious, winning the Altered Fighters Rookie Tournament. The story highlights the popularity of altered matches, which have become the most popular combat sport globally due to the fascination with the altered individual's abilities. However, becoming an altered is a privilege limited to the rich and powerful due to the high cost of obtaining the necessary fossils and DNA infusion. Tom and Gary are portrayed as ardent fans of the altered matches, with Gary particularly obsessed with the prospect of quick riches and fame associated with winning large checks at these events. The chapter concludes with Gary's growing obsession with money foreshadowing a dark path he may soon embark on, setting up potential conflicts and developments in the story. In Chapter 2, Gary, the protagonist, is a high school student who faces challenges due to his poor eyesight and lack of physical strength. Despite these disadvantages, he possesses a keen observation skill which he uses to predict his opponent's moves during a rugby match at school. However, his attempt to tackle the team's star player, Blake, results in a broken nose. Gary's friend Tom is a constant companion and provides comic relief with his lighthearted banter. Gary's admiration for Blake is tinged with envy as he sees him as a potential candidate for becoming an altered, a powerful being that Gary aspires to be. Despite his jealousy, Gary acknowledges Blake's sportsmanship and kindness, which makes him popular among their classmates. Gary lives in a modest neighborhood with his mother and younger sister, Amy. The family's financial struggles are evident in their living conditions, and Gary and Amy share a bedroom due to the small size of the apartment. Despite these challenges, the family maintains a positive and supportive atmosphere. Gary's determination to improve their lives leads him to a dangerous decision. He joins a gang. This decision is kept a secret from his family and friends. Towards the end of the chapter, Gary meets with the gang leader at a nightclub, hinting at the dark path that lies ahead for him. This chapter sets the stage for Gary's journey, highlighting his struggles, aspirations, and the risky choices he makes to change his life. In Chapter 3, Gary's decision to join the Underdogs, a well-known local gang, culminates as he undergoes a journey apart from his familial environment and school life. Struggling to adapt to this gritty underworld, he is intimidated by the gang's leader, Damien Hawk, a man with a captivatingly insanity-ridden gaze. An aura of fear tracks Gary's footsteps within the gang, further solidified by witnessing the gang's ruthless methodologies, emerging as a stark contrast to the romanticized depictions of gangs in comics and manga Gary had read previously. The prevalent socioeconomic conditions shaped by the introduction of autonomous machinery escalate Gary's personal motives to join the gang. His intention, fueled by the increasing financial constraints of his family due to mass unemployment and the tiered societal system, is rooted in his determination to prevent a further digression to a lower tier. His desire to pay back his mother's sacrifices and secure a stable future for his sister drives him to remain in this dangerous circuit. The arrival of the altered Kirk brings relief to Gary. An idol in Gary's eyes, Kirk is a prominent figure in the underdogs, and their interaction brings a fresh perspective into Gary's chaotic situation. Amid the gang's routine activities, Kirk notices Gary's broken nose, and under the pretext of imparting strength to withstand his new life, he teaches Gary boxing basics. Despite Gary's aptitude at learning theory, his physical constraints reveal themselves, reminding him of his weaknesses. An unexpected interruption in their training leads Gary back to the world of the underdogs. The gang tasks him with the role of a transporter, mirroring his ordinary life where obligations often strip him of personal choices. His responsibility is to ensure the safe delivery of mysterious content held within metal briefcases. As he accepts the strange new assignment, the briefcases spark his curiosity, adding a hint of mystery to the dark path Gary has embarked upon into the grim world of organized crime. Gary is part of a group tasked with delivering 5 briefcases to different locations. He suspects that some of these briefcases are decoys intended to confuse potential thieves. Gary becomes increasingly fixated on his own briefcase, believing it to be the genuine one based on subtle movements he notices. During the briefing, a new and inexperienced student breaks the rules by asking about the contents of the package and faces physical punishment. Each student is rewarded with cash, which excites Gary, as it promises much-needed financial relief for his struggling family. As Gary arrives at the assigned location, a construction site, he finds no one waiting for him. Instead, he discovers a pool of dark red liquid on the ground, raising his suspicions about the safety of the situation. He receives a text message instructing him to run, indicating that he is in danger. Gary is subsequently attacked by a man wielding a knife, but he manages to use his briefcase as a shield to protect himself. He flees from his assailants, only to be pursued by more men. With nowhere else to turn, he hides and attempts to catch his breath. Despite the adrenaline rush, exhaustion soon sets in, and Gary is physically shaken by the traumatic events. He realizes he cannot run forever and contemplates calling the police for help, although he fears retaliation from his own gang if he does so. Suddenly, the briefcase starts moving again, and Gary senses something alive inside. However, this discovery becomes less important as he notices that one of his attackers has disappeared, and he begins to wonder about the whereabouts of the third assailant. A sharp and agonizing pain in his lower back alerts Gary to the fact that he has been stabbed. Despite the pain, he manages to overpower one of his attackers using a powerful punch he learned from a friend. However, the victory comes at a high cost as Gary collapses from exhaustion and the injury. With his eyes closed and his vision fading, he feels something digging into his wrist and experiences immense pain. Just as he is about to lose consciousness, he encounters a message that informs him he has been granted the werewolf system. Gary's life takes a perilous turn, setting the stage for further intrigue and mystery as he grapples with unexpected challenges and newfound abilities granted by the enigmatic werewolf system. Gary regained consciousness in a forest, surrounded by towering trees under a gray sky, his memory blank regarding how he arrived there. His clothing bore signs of a struggle, and he remembered being stabbed, yet his body had miraculously healed. His vision had become remarkably enhanced, allowing him to perceive intricate details in the darkness, such as ants on tree bark. An annoying notification persisted in his field of vision, indicating a decrease in his bloodlust and a return to a normal state. This baffled Gary, leading him to consider the possibility that he had transformed into some sort of vampire, which might explain his rapid healing. As he explored the mysterious system further, he discovered various stats associated with his identity, including health, energy, and a leveling system, reminiscent of the video games he had dabbled in, but never immersed himself in. Soon, he received quests from the system, one urging him to attain the perfect body. The quest involved daunting challenges, such as consuming 2 kilograms of meat daily and adhering to a rigorous exercise regimen. Gary found the system's messages overly enthusiastic and questioned its demands, especially the excessive meat consumption. His thoughts returned to the earlier notification mentioning the countdown to the next full moon and the imperative to survive. The association with the full moon pointed toward a supernatural creature, but Gary dismissed the idea of becoming a traditional vampire. Upon revisiting the initial system message, he realized that he wouldn't be struggling with excessive body hair, further ruling out the vampire theory. In essence, Gary was thrust into a perplexing situation, endowed with newfound abilities and tasked with mysterious quests by an enigmatic system. While grappling with the uncertainty of how he ended up in the forest, he understood that he needed to navigate the challenges posed by the system and uncover the truth behind his transformation. Gary, who had recently discovered that he might be an altered or werewolf, was starting to test his newfound abilities. After punching a tree with great force, he realized that he had not gained superhuman strength as he had hoped. Instead, his knuckles were injured and he had lost 2 HP. Gary pondered over the complex system of being an altered and wondered what would happen when his HP reached 0. Despite the disappointment, Gary continued to explore his abilities. He unsuccessfully tried to transform different parts of his body and wondered if he would ever figure it out. He also considered the quests that the system presented to him, including one that would arrive in 14 days. He couldn't believe what might happen on that day and hoped to find a solution before then. As it was getting late, Gary decided to exit the woods and head home. He realized that his vision had improved and his endurance had increased as he wasn't tired after a 20-minute run. He arrived home to his sister's surprise and changed his clothes, noticing that his injuries had completely healed. However, he received ominous messages on his phone, indicating that he was in trouble for losing an item. Gary panicked, realizing that the item he had lost was now a part of him as an altered. He feared the consequences of returning to the gang he had failed, as they would likely kill him or enslave him. He worried about the safety of his family, especially if the gang discovered his real home address. Gary pondered over his options and the uncertain future that laid ahead for him and his loved ones. Overall, Gary's transformation into an altered or werewolf had brought about mixed feelings of excitement and fear. He had yet to fully understand and control his newfound abilities, and the consequences of his failure weighed heavily on his mind.